I grew up in this society, and I've seen what it means that we need to all be involved in helping to change the narrative, so that whether you are born a boy or you are born a girl, you have your due rights and privileges.
In a country where silence often shields injustice, one man has chosen to speak out. Reverend Father George Omaku Ehusani, a priest, a scholar, an activist. Above all, he is a voice for the voiceless. Through the Lux Terra Leadership Foundation, Father Ehusani has championed the fight against sexual and gender-based violence, not just in words, but with action. Father George Ehusani's approach to eliminating sexual and gender-based violence is part of a holistic societal leadership reorientation he's embarking upon in Nigeria.
Once we train them, we get everybody we train to take a pledge. They take a pledge, which is like a religious vow, that one, they will never be involved in anything conceived as sexual or gender-based violence themselves. So we don't expect the hundreds of people we have trained, almost 500 now, we don't expect any of them to be involved in anything conceived as sexual and gender-based violence. Then we don't expect those within their spheres of influence to be involved, because part of the pledge they take is that they will go back, do a step-down training, and get their own people to also take a pledge, a religious vow, never to be involved, and to do everything within their power to stop the menace in our society.
Through his organization, the Lux Terra Leadership Foundation, he has done a lot. Lux Terra Leadership Foundation is a multiple resource outfit and training facility whose purpose is to expose leaders and potential leaders to the dynamics of purposeful, visionary, transformative, and inspiring servant leadership.
We produced a manual, which is a training manual for Christian stakeholders to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence. Very well put together manual. And then we have annotations so that they can actually go back, use the same manual to do step-down training in their various Christian communities. And I'm talking of all across Christian communities, mainline Christian churches, Pentecostal churches, African independent churches, and so on.
The trained stakeholders have gone on to step down what they learned. Ehusani, through Lux Terra, is on a mission to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria with the support of Ford Foundation through the direct training of community and religious stakeholders across the country. The trained stakeholders become community advocates for the elimination of SGBV. Under the project, Lux Terra has a goal of educating 20,000 Nigerians to combat, denounce, renounce, reject, and report practices and acts, whether cultural, social, or religious, that amount to the crime of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. A strong believer in the power of change, he believes women should hold leadership position at different levels, even within the current system in religious lives.
We have done about 15 cohorts of trainings, and I advertise it that, look, this is the way to go. Don't sit down complaining about what you have no power over. You have power over this one. You can educate your people to appoint a woman as your finance council chairman, to appoint your woman as your church council chairman, as your laity council chairman. You can do that. You can campaign to have women as Eucharistic ministers in such a way that when people come to church, they will see that the crop of leaders, you have the male, who is the priest, but that you have a mix of male and female that occupy all the other levels of authority within the church.
Father Ehusani also sees a new direction that he would be going.
The kind of treatment that many women go through, especially those who are unfortunate to become widows. When a woman loses her husband, from that day, as soon as we hear the news, at least 2 women, minimum, they go to be with her from that moment, so as to prevent any gender-based violence, any widowhood rights that are negative. So when you have 2, 3 women from the church permanently with this woman for the first 1 month of losing her husband, that prevents a lot of negative practices. Then, part of what we plan is that we will also encourage those churches, especially those in the cities, to ensure that the woman is not left alone to travel to the village for burial. That if the burial is not taking place in town, in the city, and it is in the village, that a minimum of 2 women from the church community also follow the woman to the village, because a lot of these harmful widowhood practices don't happen in the cities. They happen in the villages. Make sure that the woman is not left alone to travel to the village where she will be at the mercy of the relations of the man. But as she travels with 2 people from the church, and we make sure that the 2 people that go from the church are strong enough women to protect this vulnerable woman, and also that there's some contact with the police in the village where they are going, so that should the village people try to overpower these women who have come to help this widow, that they can contact the law, because many of these harmful practices are also against the law. So they can, with all these structures we want to put together, we are convinced that in 2 or 3 years there will be, especially in our centers of excellence, they will really have something to showcase as centers of excellence in the elimination of sexual and gender-based violence.
Father Ehusani's dream of an equitable society is one that he is championing through the fight against sexual and gender-based violence.